If you're tired of clunky, mistake-filled chord progressions and you want to play them with ease, without tons of wrong notes, stick with me for the next couple of minutes and I'm going to show you the exact method that you can use to 10x every chord progression you will ever play. You'll be able to focus less on hitting the right notes and more on actually making music. When I was in college, I competed a lot, and my professor had this rule, and the first time that she ever shared it with me, my head almost exploded. I wasn't allowed to play a piece in a competition until I could play that piece from beginning to end with my eyes closed. And when she first told me this, I was like, how is that even possible? But once I took her advice and I started actually practicing that way, I realized that practicing with my eyes closed 10x'd pretty much everything, but especially chord progressions. And I'm going to show you how. Hey piano people, I'm Ashley. Welcome to Ashley Young Music Studio, where you learn how to practice smarter, not harder. Let's dive in. I'm really curious if you've ever tried to practice this way. Comment below and let me know as we dive in. Now, in today's video, I am going to actually show you how to do this so that you can do it successfully, and so that by the time you're done watching this video, it doesn't sound impossible. But it's going to make a lot more sense if you understand why this practice method is so effective. So we're going to talk a little bit about that first. It all comes down to something that you might not expect: memory. You see, there are actually 4 types of memory at play when you are learning how to play the piano. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner, doesn't matter if you're advanced, there are always 4 types of memory at play. There is your muscle memory, which is how things feel as you play them. There is your aural memory, which is how things sound. Your visual memory, which is how things look, and your cognitive memory, which is that deep understanding. And it's kind of like a culmination of all 3 types of memory plus additional information for your brain to remember. Now, you might be sitting there thinking,
what is she even talking about? My goal isn't to memorize my pieces. I have no interest in playing from memory.
That's okay, and that actually doesn't matter. This concept of memory and how it's at play when you are learning how to play a piece is always important, because without memory, you won't be able to successfully remember what you did from practice session to practice session. So even if your goal isn't to memorize a piece of music, this still applies. Have you reserved your free seat for the upcoming event Piano Practice Lab in January? This is a free 4-day event where you and me get to hang in Zoom, and where I'm going to help you design a weekly practice routine that accelerates your trajectory to confident musical expression. You are going to learn what works, what doesn't work, and we're going to talk a lot about all of the revolutionary practice methods that you can use to make sure that you have success every time you sit down at the piano. In addition to the live 4 classes, you get a bunch of other freebies, and the seats fill up really quickly. So if you want to make 2025 your best piano year yet, pause the video, follow the link in the description, fill out your information, submit it, and then come back and press play so we can finish learning how to 10x your chord progressions. Okay, when it comes to practicing with your eyes closed, step 1, we're gonna start simple. Okay, you could begin by choosing a chord progression that you already know. It could be something simple like a 1 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, 1 chord, even just in the key of C major, or maybe that's even too challenging. And even if that feels easy, I guess it doesn't matter what level you are. We're gonna break it down even further and just go between 2 chords, okay? And we're going to look at a real piece of music in a second, but let's do this first. So if you're at the piano, follow along with me. We're gonna play a C chord, okay? And it's fingers 5, 3, 1 in your left hand and 1, 3, 5 in your right hand. We're going to go to a 5 chord, but in first inversion, so a G chord in first inversion. And so we're doing C chord, C, E, G, and then the G chord is B, D, F. And in the left hand, it's the same, fingers, 5, 3, 1, and in the right hand, it's 1, 2, 5. Okay, so we're gonna go back and forth between these chords a couple of times with our eyes open so that we can really feel what it's like to go between these 2 chords. Now, the thing about practicing with a method like eyes closed is that you will suffer if you try to practice this method with something that's too challenging. But regardless of your level, you will get some benefit from practicing something very simple. So even if this seems easy, follow along with me and you will benefit, I promise. So you're gonna play it slowly, and once you feel comfortable, you're going to close your eyes, just for a few seconds at a time. It doesn't have to be a long time. So I'm gonna play the C chord, and I'm gonna keep my eyes closed, and I'm gonna try to go to the G chord. Follow along with me if you're at your piano. Now, let's open our eyes. So we just did the C to the G chord. Let's open our eyes and do it a couple more times. And then again, we're gonna test ourselves. So close your eyes and just do the C chord going to the G chord. So find your first chord first, close your eyes. Okay, now if you got that right, you might do it 5 or 10 more times because we really want to reinforce the consistency of doing it accurately with our eyes closed. So we're gonna close your eyes again. You might do this 10 times. You might pause the video. You really want to give some time with this. Make sure as you're doing this, you feel it with your hands. You're imagining what it might look like if you were looking at the keys, watching your hands. You're hearing what it sounds like, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, C chord going to a G chord, or 1 chord going to a 5 chord. If that doesn't resonate with you, that's fine. You might even just be thinking C, E, G, B, D, G, right? Like whatever you can think about to help you remember and reinforce these chords, that's what you're thinking about. But as we're diving into it, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you're finding it helpful. If you've learned something, comment below and let me know what it was. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so that you never miss out on these helpful videos that I release on a regular basis. And make sure to copy the link, share it with a friend, share it with a community of adult piano players so that they too can 10x their chord progressions. And I'm gonna give you something else today. I want to challenge you. In the next 7 days, I want you to take this technique and apply it in your practice. And then I want you to come back to this video and comment below and let me know what happened. Because I have a hypothesis. If you do this correctly, I know what's going to happen. But I want you to have that check-in a week from now to really let it sink in how much this practice method makes a difference. Now, step 2 is that you're going to increase the duration. This means you're going to maybe add an additional chord. So if we were practicing our whole chord progression, which is like the 1 chord, 5 chord, back to 1, and then let's say we go to 4 next. We're going to try to add that 4 chord now. Okay, so first we're going to do it a few times with our eyes open, really getting the hang of it, making sure we can do it accurately with our eyes open. Now we're going to close our eyes. And you can go a lot slower than this in your practice. So if you're at your piano, follow along. Let's go slower. 1, 5, 1, 4. Right? And we would do that over and over and over again. And we can gradually increase the duration that we're practicing with our eyes closed. And we're doing this 1 chord at a time. We're not taking a whole page of music. We're not taking 12 chords in a row and trying to do this. It's 1 chord at a time. And now that you kind of understand the concept of how to do this, you can also practice this in an actual piece of music. So let's take the Chopin Prelude in E minor, for example. This left hand is full of chords. I use it as an example often when I'm talking about chords because it's such a great example. And the left hand is changing chords quite often. So if we look at the transition between measure 1 and measure 2, we have G, B, E going to F sharp, A, E. Right? And so the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to isolate those chords and practice going back and forth between them with our eyes open, making sure that we can do that accurately all by itself. Then, again, just taking those 2 chords going back and forth, we might try it with our eyes closed. If you can do that accurately 10 or 20 times in a row, then you put it in the context of the piece. So now I might actually play measure 1, transitioning into measure 2. Which means I would play the notes as they're written in the correct amount, in the correct order, so I would count out loud. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and now switching chords. 1 and 2 and. Now, you might have noticed in order to do that with my eyes closed, I have to know what the rhythm is. I have to know how many times each chord is playing. I have to know when the change is happening. And so you can really see when you start to apply this concept of playing with your eyes closed to a piece of music, you're going to have a good sense of what's going on in the music. And that might mean that you have a little bit of pre-work to do before you can even practice with your eyes closed. You might need to just take a minute and actually figure out what's going on. How many times do I play this chord? When exactly does it transition to the next chord? And that's okay. Doing all of that is not a waste of time. And in fact, it's only going to help you 10x your chord progressions even more. Now remember, I want you to take a section of your piece. It could literally be 1 measure. Practice this way for 7 days. Come back and comment and let me know how this goes, what happened, what was the result. And when you come back to comment, find someone else's comment and encourage them and give them a congratulations for all of the work that they did. Let's start to like build some camaraderie and some community right here in the comment section on the YouTube channel. If you got anything out of this video, you will likely also get a ton of information out of this video that I recently did that teaches you how to analyze the chord progressions. So this is going to be especially helpful if when I was talking about the 4 types of memory, you were like,
ooh, cognitive memory? I don't understand that one. I don't know that one.
Check out this other video that's all about how to analyze the chord progressions in your pieces, because that will help you develop your cognitive memory, among many other things. You can grab the link to that video right here on the end screen, as well as the link to Piano Practice Lab. If you did not pause the video and reserve your free seat, do that now by clicking the link on the end screen. I will see you there. I cannot wait. Happy practicing.